Yeah, so my intention for this call is to be the space that holds for 100% transformation, 100% awareness, 100% insight, 100% breakthroughs. And I'm willing to go anywhere and everywhere to see fit that you get exactly what you come here for. And I want you to notice what I just did. I'm immediately establishing authority. Sometimes people are waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting. It was like, no, people come to you because they want direction. And even even y'all are on here. You answered the coaching facilitation call to also understand the direction of coaching and facilitation that produces results over and over and over and over. Most, and I want you to get this, most coaching and facilitation that produces results has least to do with your skill and more to do with how you hold yourself, your setup, and how clear you are with what you're saying. That's why you have so many talented people who are broke. They can't sell out anything, but they're skilled. There's people that are more skilled than me, but they can't keep a client. They're like, man, but how do you do this? And how do you keep selling out everything that you do? How do you build a multi-million-dollar coaching program in several different industries? And like, how'd you do it? I'm like, yo, you're way talented than me. One, you talk too much. Two, do you hear the words that are come out of your mouth? Nobody's going to understand what you're saying, and you're trying to reach people. You got to speak the language of the people. And so sometimes people love how smart they are, and they get lost in the smart, which blinds them from actually listening to people, to being able to actually connect and to produce the kind of results that your intelligence should produce. But because you ride high on the intelligence, what happens is the ego produces the result and not the actual intelligence. It's the intelligence of the ego. So what is that? This person quit. I can't get any high ticket clients and all this other stuff because there's an energy that's in the way of your actual genius. And so before we even get started, just so y'all know, I want y'all to really, really, really hear this. True intelligence will not be found in the head. It won't. It's the brain, the head is full of lies. True intelligence is found in the body. That's where the wisdom is. So 95% of what I teach is all stuff that derives from the inherent wisdom that comes from the body, but one must be so grounded in themselves and attuned that they can hear and not override what they're hearing from their intuition, which means inside. And so a lot of what I teach and why the results and why I produce the results that I produce, because the level of attunement that I have allows me to hear the unheard, see the unseen, feel the unfelt. And so as you're operating, we're multi-dimensional beings, but we're taught to read linearly. If we're taught to read linearly, then that means we think linearly. How do we remove that echo? We're not even there yet, because I'm going to go into a whole practice. But it's like we're taught to read linearly and think linearly. And if you think linearly, you speak linearly, and your actions are the same way, but we're multi-dimensional beings. So I teach multi-dimensional coaching and multi-dimensional facilitation. By the way, in energy workers, anything, a multi-dimensional coach, even if you're like coaching in sports or anything, is also a facilitator and an energy worker. We just don't get lost in the titles. You literally embody all of it, and you just happen to be a coach, or you just happen to be a yoga teacher, or you just happen to be a something where you're leading and guiding people. Me, the same thing I use in facilitation, I use in being a devotional husband and being a devotional father the way I parent my children. It's all the same, but the language is different. And so I want to find out who is in the room. Drop drop a one if you're new to coaching, and drop a two if you've been doing it for 2 to 5 years, and drop a three if you've been doing it for 5+ years. I am 15 years every single day of my life in the game. I never thought I'd say I'd be over a decade of doing like this one thing. Let's see. 1 1 1 2 3. I see you, Daryl. 2 3 iPad. 1 1 1. A lot of new coaches. Let's see. 3. Christina, 3. Yep. 3 2 1. 3 but stepped away. How does even stepping away from coaching goes? It's like when it's there, it's like somebody calls you for advice. Do you like not tap into that, or the actual business of coaching? Good stuff. I love this. I love this so much. And so I want y'all to notice something before I get into these 6 principles that I'm going to talk about. How I started the call. It doesn't matter if I'm in person. And I want you to know this. It doesn't matter if I'm in person or online. Does not matter. I will not allow something to get in the way of energy. Energy goes where energy flows. And many times people are like, oh, well, it's Zoom. You know, there's only so much you can do on Zoom. This is true. And I've had some of the biggest transmissions happen online. It just requires a level of focus, groundedness, and presence. When I got on the call, does anybody know why I just started dancing? Why I just started with music? You can answer in the comment section. Different part of the brain. What else? Grace, it's not fair. You're in my program. You've heard me say that 1,000 times. Don't pay attention to what Grace said. All right, and I want you to take this with you. Anytime you're going into a place, anytime you're online, you're in person, you have no idea the day that someone had that is coming to listen to you speak. You have no idea. You can assume, but you'll never actually know. And for me, it is always good to play music, because just by activating body movement, like you're going to speed up your heart rate, you get in your body, you start dancing, you start seeing smiles and people dancing. It's like you go to a club, nobody's dancing. You're like, yo, that's a boring party. But then you go to a club and then a bunch of people are dancing, like, yo, I want to be a part of that. So it starts to activate a part of the embodiment that you've been in all day. Maybe somebody got fired from their job. Maybe there was a breakup. Maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you're just like, I ate some fatty foods and I'm just swirling all day today. You have no idea. But if you can cause an instant state change, what that does is it attunes the brain. And then the part of the brain that it attunes vibrationally will also be the person that is listening. And if you can get enough people in a state change, now that collective frequency then starts to create a collective listening. And the collective listening doesn't matter if it's online, in a retreat, in a coaching cohort, or whatever. The collective listening, you can speak into that vibration, and it also hits the collective. So I'm not speaking to people, I'm speaking into an energy. And anybody that's in that accord vibrates to that template. So it's almost like It's like when I go on stage and people are afraid of speaking and they're like, Garen, how do you speak to 70,000 people and move an entire crowd like that? Well, basically, I mean, there's a reason why they have six different personalities. I'm ultimately talking to six people. The person that's sitting like this, they're really happy. I'm looking for a mother. I'm looking for, a really tough man. Just I'm looking for a family. So I'm talking to six people the entire time. And those six people, literally, energetically, if you're talking to a mom in the audience and she's pregnant, and I'm talking to the mom, and I'm just like saying, "Oh my goodness, shout out to you, mom. You're so amazing." She's gonna release this energy and gonna talk to her energy is gonna talk to all the moms in the room. Same thing happens online. Same thing happens online. So if you understand how energy and frequency and vibration works, you don't have to get wrapped up in all the things and all like the one person represents so many people because all of us is each of us. And it's like a big house of mirrors, but it's also the same way online. So when I started and we're dancing and singing, even the people that are just like, huh, let me see if this is really good coaching stuff. There's always one of those, even in your mind. If you're not doing it and you're smiling, but inside you're like, huh, he better not try to sell me something. I'm going to try to sell you something, but I can guarantee you it's going to be something you've never experienced before when it comes to coaching and facilitation, which is a level up, which is more money in your pocket, which is like way better impact, way more transformation. And I know each and every person on here wants that. Even I want that. That's why I create things like this. So that's why I created a resonance to begin with to raise the vibration, change the state, because that's the state that I'm going to be speaking into. You see what I did there? Now there's 54 people, 100 something people that signed up, but I'm not talking to every single person. I'm talking to the state. So now you don't have to get bogged down and be like, well, are they getting this? No, you create the state. That's establishing authority. So I created the state, then I shared my intention, and then I said, here's the standard. I need everybody to come offline, and I'm not going to do the call. So if you want to do this call, here's what I need from you. That's immediately establishing authority. Type up 5 in the chat if this is valuable for you. It's immediately establishing authority. They're not coming here for you to babysit. People aren't coming here for you. Will you please save me? I'm not saving anybody. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to give you the tools on how to save yourself, save your coaching career, save your facilitation career. And by the time I leave, like I'm going to give you a key and only you can unlock the door of what's going to happen in the last 10 minutes of the call. So you definitely don't want to leave. It's going to be really, really, really powerful. Okay, so we're going to get into the topic of discussion, coaches and facilitators. I'm going to quickly get into my story. I never knew that I was going to be a coach or a facilitator. All I know is I was meant to be on stage. I knew that life was like really hard for me, like really, really, really hard. And I remember it was like, God, why does it feel like I'm living 15, 20 different people's lives? It didn't make sense to me. And then I went from hard time to hard time to tough time to tough time. And I remember living in my car. Oops, I have my piano on. Hold on. So I remember living in my car, being $250,000 in debt, ex-convict, you name it. I was going through everything all at the same time. My mom was dying in the hospital with a colostomy bag and 19 different medications, 12 back-to-back surgeries. Doctor said she's got 1 year to live. And so this is what I'm dealing with at that time. Never thought that I'd be anybody's coach or guide or soul guide or supporting people in that way. Never. Um, and then when I started to make a difference in my own life and I started to take coaching and I was doing the silent retreats and I was doing the darkness retreats and I was learning about spiritual psychology and I was doing the emotional intelligence courses and I was doing um, the communications course level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I was taking parenting classes and I was taking relationships classes. I was taking so many things. Hold on. Tell Yolanda you get to watch dancing. Okay? Ferme la porte, s'il te plaît. I love my daughter. As I was talking about parenting. And so I took so many courses, and this is how I got into coaching. I desperately wanted a relationship with my daughter. And all of those courses that I took was because I wanted to learn what was up with me that my daughter didn't trust me. So I just kept taking course after course after course after course after course after course. They're like, hell, haven't you got enough? So I'm like, my daughter still doesn't trust me. There's something about me. And then all of a sudden, I started developing the relationship with my daughter when I created an image in my mind of who I wanted to be. People say that affirmations don't work. No, affirmations that you don't believe. And I said, I am the most powerful representation of who my daughter will marry one day. And then it started shifting. And then I had a coach and I had a spiritual advisor and I was just like, I just need to know, what is it with me? As I kept developing, I was naturally sharing what I grew past, what I transformed through, what I had a result from. And I could not believe how many people would be like, oh my goodness, that's so inspirational. How'd you do that? How did you do this? How did you do that? All I did before I became a coach was share what I did, what book I read, what audiobook I was listening to, how they would say, oh, listen to personal development 30 minutes a day. And I'm like, I need more than 30 minutes. This mind is crazy. I got years of negative thinking, gossiping all the time. Like that, I need way more than 30 minutes. I need to stop watching TV. I need to stop scrolling. I need to get healthy. I need to stop chasing women at nightclubs. So I need something that's going to help me condition my mind. So over and over and over, I kept reading books. And they were like, well, I read that book. I said, but your life doesn't look like the information that's stored in your brain. So maybe read it again. And maybe reading the book is not the issue. Maybe applying the lessons in the book is the issue. So because I wouldn't just read a book one time, I would read it like 20 times. I was getting different results than everybody else around me reading the same book. So what that taught me is repetition matters. Consistency matters. So I would learn all of these lessons based off of my own personal transformation. Not something is like a course I took over 2 days and then all of a sudden I'm a trauma certified coach in 2 days. Nah, I'm like, what? In 2 days? You haven't learned anything about the body yet. Who gave you that certificate? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's an irresponsibility when it comes to energy. And I'm not just talking about trauma. I'm just talking about the world of somatics and the world of understanding the psychology of the brain and energy, frequency, and vibration. And so I didn't know that I was being put through a process that was going to teach me language on how to understand, not understand, but understand my process of transformation, my process of growing through, my process of understanding why energy was stuck. And naturally, every time I would share a new result, more people would say, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? When I got my relationship back with my daughter, a bunch of men said, how did you do that? A bunch of women were like, wow, like, oh my goodness, I wish I had a father like you. I'm like, so what that taught me is, what that taught me was there's a lot of women, especially if 90% of the women that was around me said, I wish I had a father like you, which that means they had some aspect of daddy issues, especially if they're seeing another version of him. So I knew that there was something there around daddy issues. I knew that there was somewhere around mommy issues or child domestication issues because I knew what I had to grow through. So naturally, people kept asking me for advice on mindset, on families. When I went from the person who like damn near cheated on every girlfriend I ever had and never was gonna have other kids, never saw myself being married, never saw myself being a devoted husband, to being someone who has two more kids, having a marriage that's over 5 years, being a devoted husband, being a devoted father, developing the relationship back with my daughter. A bunch of people were like, how'd you do that? And when people keep asking you something, this is for anybody who's new and anybody who hasn't really found the soul of their coaching and facilitation. They keep asking you something and it's easy for you to talk about. That is what you build your coaching program around. It's so easy you can't even see it. That is the low-hanging fruit that is so effortless, and then everything else is just building upon the practice. Like for me, I got the artist power because the inner child was the biggest transformation for me. So I created a company called Artist Power that has to do with inner child and confidence and full self-expression because I know that people have issues with sharing their truth, using their voice, and leaving and living as an authentic expression of themselves. It was so easy that I couldn't even see it because it's been a part of everything that I've ever done. So I was trying to coach and trying to do all these other things. But what was missing was the authentic part of me that was like, oh, wait, this has been a part of everything that I've done. So how can you build a coaching practice over sewing? Well, before I was writing a book, I went to a book workshop. It said, write a book and become rich. I knew it had nothing to do with rich. I went to that workshop. All they did was talk about mindset and personal growth. And they were coaching the whole time. And I was like, oh, they used something that they loved, that they were good at, and created a workshop and put coaching inside of that was developing their attitude, developing their energy, developing the focus level, developing the confidence, developing the authenticity, because the person that can do that will have the strength and bravery to put out a book. And I was like, oh, so you don't have to like be coach. You can be your trade and you have the skill set of coach and the skill set of a facilitator and a skill set of an energy worker. Because if you're working with people, you are working with energy. If you are working with people and trying to motivate them, you are facilitating motivation. If you're working with people and you're guiding them and everything, that is a form of coaching. So you're literally all of it. So by way of my own life, enough people just kept asking me for advice. And I was like, and here I am, God, send me a sign of what I'm supposed to do. Meanwhile, there's people. Hey, Garen, you should write a book. You get 1,000 people ask you to write a book. Maybe you should listen. You get a whole bunch of people saying, hey, you ever thought about coaching? You ever thought about like facilitating at a retreat? This is when I said yes to the call. And I'm going to get into these 6 points. I said yes to what was there. And what I notice in a lot of coaches and facilitators, they got their heads wrapped up in like 20 different things. And they haven't fully owned, this is what I do. And when you don't fully own it, it takes away from your confidence. It takes away from the energy that is given when co-creation wants to serve you in your favor. And so I wanted to share that and give you context in how I even got into coaching, because it's important that if you're going to do it, then do it. There's enough coaches out there who are out of integrity, who are just kind of doing stuff and just, I think I should become a coach. If you think you should become a coach, you shouldn't become one. I think I should be a mom. Don't become one. I want to be a mother. I want to be a husband. I want to be married. Why? Because there's power in certainty, and there's weakness in not being able to make like critical decisions or decisions. And so even in that, this is why I'm talking about the setup. There's a bunch of genius people, but they don't produce the results. But then there's people with less talent producing way better results. Why? Because their setup is better. Their preparation is better. And so the setup is in how you see yourself. I saw myself as one of the best coaches in the world. I saw it. Once I saw what was happening in people's lives, even early on, even before I started making a lot of money coaching, I was like, oh no, I'm like really good at this. So if somebody asked me, are you a good coach? No, I'm a phenomenal coach. You see that confidence? But I wasn't like just throwing it out there. I knew I was a phenomenal coach because people were like, oh my goodness, I've never felt this safe before. These type of results have never happened. I've spent so much money here. I had a 5-minute conversation that had nothing to do with coaching with you, and you made a bigger difference than any mentor I've ever invested in. Do you have any programs? And at the time I didn't. So I had to give you the backstory because I wasn't trying to be one. I was just trying to get better at life. Somebody who's overcome domestic violence, and you're trying to figure out, what do I coach on? If you've overcome that, you know how many, mainly women, who are silent in their domestic violence and they don't know who to turn to or how to build their countenance or confidence. That is easy for you. So it's the thing that's already there so that you can take a self-scan of your life. Now, I want to get into some things that I'm going to cover for the call today. What makes what I do different than probably 99% of the coaches out there? One, I speak in plain English. That's one. So people can understand very complex things. I work in energy, frequency, and vibration, and I can articulate it in a very practical way. So you're not going to have to go look up 1,000 different things trying to figure out what I understand to understand. And I know how to take these practices, and it's almost like a spiritual dojo. Take these practices and teach them in a very practical way. That's one of my greatest gifts, is to be able to educate so that someone comprehends and they can embody the practices. So what I'm going to be sharing today is coming from that lens. And how did I learn that? I manifested my way out of a 12-year prison sentence in 2.5 years by assuming a specific vibration and frequency. I didn't know I was doing that, but when I connect the dots looking backward on my life and I felt the frequency of freedom, I devoted the next 20 something years, the next 20 years of my life from 2005 until now to discovering what was that strong that an energy welled up inside of me, overflowed, and then it redirected what the humans had said I was being charged with. Like the drugs were fake. And I know clearly that it had something to do with who I was being, how focused I was, how disciplined I was, how I saw myself, and how grounded I was. That's story number one. Story number two, I knew I was destined to really work with facilitators and coaches to be 100,000 times more powerful than they are right now, even if you're already powerful. Because I was working with a lady named Christy, and she was a mom of three, under three, and she was very weak in her mind. You don't understand. It's like diaper assembly. My kids, they go, my kids, you don't know what it's like to be a mom, and I can't build a business, and I can't do that. And I'll tell you now, Christy is one of my greatest students ever. And when I sat her down, shared with what my intention was, kind of like when I got on this call, made her feel like she was the only person in the world. I wasn't thinking about 1,000 different things. I made her feel like she was the only person in the world, as if God was looking at her through my eyes. And I said, what is it that you want? Not what I want for her. I said, what do you want? And she said, I want to make some money. I said, that sounds very surface. Why do you want to make some money? And then I dug in a little bit deeper, and this is what you want to do with your clients. You want to get to the emotional reason why they want what they want. Because when you tap into the emotion, you're in the body and not the head. The body's where all the magic is. So I dug 4 layers deep. Why do you want this? Why do you want money? Why do you want money to get this thing? And then all of a sudden she starts crying. And she said, because my son has special needs and I want to get these waterproof hearing aids. And she's crying. For my son Malin, and I want him to be able to hear his brother and sister when they're in the bath together, and she's crying. And I said, this is what you really want? She said, yes. I said, so well, every single time you find yourself making excuses for why you can't show up to your business, I want you to put Malin on the table in front of him and tell him he's not worth it. Holy crap. That right there, friends. We got into her emotional why, while me being present and helping her get what her want. People don't care they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I got to her emotional resonance and then spoke to her about what she wanted. And then I said, okay, cool. Here's your accountability. You put them on the table in front of you. Tell them they're not worth it. And she looked at me with eyes of fire like I'd never seen another human. Let me tell you something. Within the first 5 months from that conversation, she was doing about $25,000 in business a month. From $0, stay-at-home mom. From that, so sometimes it's not about the action, it's about why you're doing the action. The $1 billion rocket ship isn't going anywhere without the fuel. And it's the deep, resonant reason why. Don't let them get over on the surface. They're coming for you for guidance. If they knew better, they would do better. So you do the digging. Okay? And right now, she has made a difference in thousands of moms globally from that one conversation. I'd never seen somebody, I'd never underestimate the power of a mom who's willing to do anything to protect and provide for her family. And that happened in that one coaching conversation. Okay, so now we're going to get into the meat of this conversation. Good stuff. Now, y'all heard me talk about how present I was with her. One thing that many coaches lack is the ability to be so present that you can start hearing the whispers of intuition working in your favor. Many times coaches listen to respond. It's like you're listening, and while they're talking, you're thinking about what you're about to say while they're talking. And that's not actively being present. That means I don't trust that I can hold for their entire being without getting into my head, because if you're in your head, you're not in your body. And so for me, I learned a deeper level of presence from one of my all-time favorite singers, Stevie Wonder. So crazy. And this is story number 3, and we're going to get into the 6 principles. So on my birthday, a friend of mine invited me to a July 4th party. And then when I went there, there's a bunch of people there. My friend goes, "Hey, did you meet Stevie?" I'm like, "Stevie who?" He was like, "Stevie Wonder, this is his house." I'm like, "You invited me to my all-time favorite singer's house? I had no idea. You just said, do I want to come to a party?" So all of a sudden he was like, "Yeah, you just walked right by him on the couch." And I was like, "Bro, you got to introduce me to Stevie." So here's the level of presence that I'm talking about. So we know Stevie is all the, "I just call to say I love you. I just call to say how much I care." So you know that's Stevie, right? So the level of Stevie that most people will probably never see is him walking around in his house with nobody holding him, with no cane, him playing slaps with somebody and winning. So when I got introduced to Stevie Wonder, I was sharing with him my story, and he just leaned in, and I watched him. He goes, and I started to notice a level of presence I've never seen in another human being in my life. And I was like, hold on. Maybe that's why he can see better than all of us, because maybe there's another pair of eyes called insight inside the body. And I watched him in a level of deep presence. He was using his breath. He leaned in with his body. And I watched him tune an instrument called the arpeggi, which is, it's like a guitar and a in a piano. And he, video is off for the moment. All good. And then he started tuning it with the machine. And then all of a sudden he did that thing again. He goes, and he leans in. And he starts tuning it again without the machine. And he tuned it better than the machine. And that taught me that there was another level of presence that was actually smarter than the machine. There was a divine presence. And I got to spend the next 4 hours with Stevie Wonder, and we're singing songs. He found out it was my birthday. You know what he did? Happy birthday to you. And I was like, this is not happening. But I left that day and I said, oh, wow. All I needed to do was see it. And it was a level of presence as if God was in the room right now. How would you be? How would you listen? Would you be trying to interrupt? I saw it. And he taught me a valuable lesson. Taught me about you don't need to see. You don't need to hear. You don't need to feel. Because there is something ancient and beyond the world of thought inside of the resonance of your being. And from that moment, my vibration, my frequency, my energy, my presence, my coaching, my soul guiding, my facilitation jumped up 10 levels. So everything that I'm going to teach, especially for those who want to like really up level their coaching and facilitation, this is what makes my coaching and facilitation program different than everybody else's, is the experiences that I have. I'm not coaching on something that I learned from a certificate. These are like real life things. You don't often meet people who studied to be a samurai for 2 years. You know what I learned in samurai? So a lot of stuff that I learned, a lot of life lessons, things on manifestation, things on intuition, and shared in a practical way are things that we've actually put into our coaching certification program. So anybody who's like interested in that level of coaching, you're not going to, I can guarantee you're not going to find it out there. This is what I'm going to offer at the end of the call, but wait till you see what it is, like exactly what it is. And you don't want to miss it because it's going to literally set you apart from every coach in this industry. Now you're going to understand, they're like, yo, how did Garen go from in 2018, he's struggling to do $150 coaching sessions to $12,000 per 90-minute session, but also one of the highest paid coaches in America right now, and the top 25 coaches in the personal development industry in the country. I wasn't trying to do that, but everything that I've learned, including the coaches that are a part of the cohort, is what we put in the coaching certification program. That's why it's going to set you apart from everyone else, because people don't have this level of depth and range when it comes to their certification, because they're just trying to get the certification off. And I want to develop some of the most powerful coaches in the world, and facilitators in the world, and energy workers in the world, which if you play your cards right, you're all of them. So there's no separation from energy worker, coach, facilitator, and even the skill set inside of your yoga practice or your Pilates practice will set you apart from it. Why is it different than why? Because the energy is different. It's not what's being said, it's where it's coming from. And if where it's coming from is somebody with this level of depth, range, and skill set, oh, like it's going to be so easy for people to consider you first. Like I'm about to do so much stuff with like daybreakers and all this other stuff. Of course they're going to pick me 100%. Who else are they going to get that does what I do? And I'm not saying that from a egotistical thing. I'm saying that from a skill set level. So that same skill set, tis what I'll be teaching. And now we're about to get into 6 things that I promised you, which is really, really fun. All right, so I want to get into 1 second. Yeah, so I want to get into this when it comes to the big promise and the hook. Somebody says, so what if we already know this and are practicing this? Well, there's levels to this. There's levels to confidence, there's levels to frequency, there's levels to vibration, there's levels to embodiment, because there's a lot of people know, and then their application could be off. There could be something off in your energy. So it's not just knowing this, there's a whole side to this coaching which has to do with you. And I tell people all the time, this is why like you can have somebody in all these different businesses, and I was like, but the one common denominator, it's not the business that you're in, it's the you that you have to live with when you look in the mirror and the truth shows up every day, and what like the true story. And so it's not just about what you know, it's about also who you be. It's who you be, what you know, what you live, and how people receive you. And if people aren't receiving you a certain way, it's because there's a part of you that sees yourself a certain way, because people see you how you see yourself. Even if you say yourself is different, how you see yourself is a reflection of how people see you, because like attracts like. And so what I'm going to get into is the hook and the big promise. That's number 1. To getting these clients. And I'm going to be sharing about how I built a thriving coaching business without wasting like years or hiring a $500,000 team. I built a 7-figure coaching business with 3 people in 6.5 months. Not saying everybody's going to do that, but it can be done. But the thing about it is, there were a series of things that I did. And so right now is the hook and the big promise. The hook is, how do you hook people? You bait a fish with what a fish wants. So why would you put an aluminum can? Think about this. Why would you put an aluminum can on a hook? Why aren't the people showing up? I can guarantee you, your hook ain't right. And they don't believe your big promise. Y'all saw what happened when I started talking about my coaching certification program? I know it's one of a kind. I know it will set you apart. And I know that you will be an upgraded version of yourself once you go through that cohort. There is not a shadow of a doubt. But I also talked about where it came from, how I developed the skill, what I teach, and how you get to develop with people, and all these different things. And here's what I said. It's going to set you apart from everyone else. That level of depth, that level of range. So I gave you, and I gave people a hook right there, because I know that's what you want. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this call. But I also said it with confidence. I wasn't like, well, I hope they buy into it. Nope. Ain't buying into hope. Ain't buying into hope. Here's what I know. Here's what I know for a fact. Here's what I'm clear on. Here's what I'm embodied in. Here's what I'm actually living. And so the hook, one of a kind coaching certification program. You will never find something else. You will not find something else in the industry right now that is teaching what we're teaching in a practical way. Energy, frequency, vibration, embodiment, presence, intuition in a practical way. Okay? Yes, I can definitely do that. Can you talk about the 3 people who you helped? I mean, there's plenty of people. It's a lot. But I can talk about Carly Brown. Carly Brown came in. She is a coach. She was earning like she couldn't even crack $5,000. She couldn't crack $5,000 as a coach, and she's a mom of a son and another baby. She has another baby on the way. Carly Brown is upwards $150,000, $125,000 monthly, but we worked on the same thing. We literally worked on the same thing. But the thing about it is, her biggest thing was seeing herself beyond where she is now. She couldn't see it. So sometimes you got to borrow people's eyes. So I taught her how to see more of herself, and I maintained that. I maintained the conversation. And it's the same thing with Christy. It's the same thing with the other person. I don't see them as they are. I see them as their future self, and I talk to them as their future self. And I bring them into that resonance. I don't leave it. I will not leave it. I will stay there, and I'll stay there, and I'll stay there, and I'll stay there, even when they're down and out. And I'll stay there. And it's almost like you stand guard at the doorway of your client's mind. So it's a lot of building up, a lot of bigging up, a lot of encouragement, a lot of celebration, and there are no such thing as small wins. It is continuously elevating. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I'm celebrating you. I believe in you. I believe over and over and over and over and over and over. And if it has to do with if they have a husband, like Carly Brown has a husband, I just want to say thank you for allowing your wife to coach with me. And he's like, oh man, thank you so much. Ever since you came into our lives, our whole lives have changed. We made so much money. So I'm also not just acknowledging the person, I acknowledge the spouse. I'm like, put your kids on the phone. So literally, I'm wrapping what means something to them inside of the coaching. And all that's doing is facilitating belief, facilitating an energy, facilitating liveliness. But the thing about it is to get the client. Oh, they got to know that you know what you're talking about. So that confidence, here's how this works. Because we're still in the hook and the big promise. When you talk about the hook, what hooks people in and the big promise, the level of confidence that you have to have is if I ask you your name, you answer it. What size shoe do you wear? You answer it right away. So when you're giving them, when you're talking to them, it's a level of confidence that makes them feel safe in investing in you, in trusting in you. And if you're questioning in your mind, oh, I hope I get this because I really got to pay my rent. Oh, you've already lost the battle. So the confidence And this is what I want to say. You walk up to somebody in the street, right? You say, "Hey, where's the 405? Where's the highway?" And they're like, well, I, I, right? You already know. You're like, yo ass do not know. And then somebody, so imagine this person doesn't know. And you walk up to somebody who doesn't know. And they're like, hey, do you know where the 405 is? Oh, yeah, right this way. Boom. And they start walking that way. Guess what you do? Walk that way. Same thing with coaching. So when it comes to the bringing people in and hooking them and providing a big promise, always let them know I'm gonna give you clear direction and guidance on exactly what you need. Well, shit. A lot of people lack clarity, and clarity brings confidence. I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to do this thing and this thing and this thing, or I don't know. I'm feeling like this inside, and I just don't really know. Cool. Direction, clarity, and guidance. Boom. Right there, you can weave that in as a part of the promise. You see what I just did there? Clear. It is so radically clear. So when you put something that most people are going through and struggling with in the promise, you're going to talk to most people. And that's number one. Okay? Now, here's promise number two. Your story. Your story. I meet so many coaches there. I was like, have you ever shared that before? They were like, no. I mean, I've shared bits and pieces of it, but your calling card is your story. You want to know why I have a book that sold almost 500,000 copies called Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life? That whole book is about my story. Impacted millions of people. Your story is a gateway into the possibility in their heart. Why? Because people listen to who they relate to. They don't listen to your certificates. They're only going to get you so far. They don't listen to your skill sets. It's only going to get you so far. But I can guarantee you this. If you're trying to reach somebody deeply, a lot of people feel alone in their journey. So imagine you have a client right now, and the client is like, or you're trying to get a client and they're saying, I still don't, I can't understand why nobody will buy my programs. It's like, I've been working really hard and I can't understand why nobody will buy my programs or something like that. I'm struggling and I'm sad. And I was like, man, I remember when I was struggling and sad. See what I just did there? I took their story and said, hey, I'm right there with you. I remember being there. Now I'm establishing authority in a compassionate way, saying you're not there. Yes, Deborah, it's a point of connection. You want to find as quickly as possible a point of relatability. I remember when I was struggling, and I remember that, when I couldn't sell programs because I'm not talking about them. I'm going to try to talk about them through me because I'm trying to relate to them. I'm trying to get them to relate to me through my story. This is big. So if you can hear what they want and you've grown through what they want, then you tell a story based off of where you were. And then you say something like, and I remember I was struggling so hard to create a program that people would buy because I was focused on way too many things. So I just decided to dial on one thing that I'm really excited about and then just go all in on that one thing that I'm really excited about. And then I hired a coach. See what I just did there? Y'all see what I just did? They're struggling. They're coming to you to see if you're the one for guidance. They're trying to test. They're ultimately asking you a bunch of questions to find a way to believe if you're the right person that can help them. But the moment you tell a story, and if you did get a coach, I remember when I was struggling and I was stuck and I couldn't figure it out. And then I hired a coach because that was the obvious thing to do. I was already spending my money on a bunch of stuff that wasn't getting me where I wanted. So I decided to invest in myself. Y'all see what I just did there? I'm literally telling them to invest in me, the coach. But I'm talking about my story and they're listening to my story, but people always think about themselves. Ooh, me too. Ooh, me too. Ooh, me too. So I'm literally walking them through a journey that they're about to do. I'm like, only an idiot wouldn't have taken that offer. I do that with some people, but it's like, well, I don't want to look like an idiot. Hey, I want the offer. So I'm talking about my story. I need you to close the door. But not come in though. Daddy's on a call. I'm gonna be quiet. No. Sacred silence is outside of the door. I'm gonna come and kiss you, I promise. Okay. After that. I'll see you soon. I'm Bizu. Okay. I love you. Dad, can I watch Modern Dance? You can watch Modern Dance. But if you mark marker on your body again, I'm taking all your markers and you won't get them for a week. No more colors on your body. Welcome to dad life. I love it. I am not parenting my inner child. I am training her for this crazy ass world. So, close the door. Is it time for you to go to bed? No. Do you want to dance? Huh? Do the music on dance? The music on dance? Yes. Okay. Hey, no, so I can't. Hold on one second, y'all. So, come here. Okay, hold on. I value your tears. No, but listen to me. It's okay to cry. Just hold on. No, I hear you. I hear you. You're going to watch Modern Dance. She just didn't know that I said that. Okay? You can watch Modern Dance and you can watch it for 10 minutes and then it's time to go to bed, okay? Okay. I'm Bizu. Only 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Okay. Welcome, y'all. This is what it is. It's like, like I tell you, I use all of these same practices and principles and communication and being radically present, even though I'm on a call. Everything I'm about to teach literally translates to motherhood, fatherhood, parenting, marriage, relationships. It's like, because any true lesson will cross barriers and borders. Any discipline that's like true in nature, you can apply it in every area of your life. So now, so what I want to get into is the level of when I was talking about the story, what you do is you're guiding them through your story based off of the point of familiarity, and if anywhere in their story that they find that they're struggling with, you then tell them your story from a point of familiarity, tell them what you did, and then from there they have direction on what to do. So when it comes time to work with you, it is an obvious duh because of the level of presence that you had and how you worked with them just through, because people's not going to remember your PowerPoints and y'all aren't going to remember these 7 stories. I mean, these 7 principles. You're going to remember Stevie Wonder's presence. You're going to remember the stories all day long. So stories all day long is the point of getting people in, breaking the ice, and getting them closer. And that's promise number 2. Okay. Now, number 3 is clarity. Everybody needs clarity because clarity brings confidence. Clarity brings confidence. And I want y'all to see in this, when I wasn't clear, somebody worked with me and I'm just all over the place. I want to do a t-shirt and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm stuck and I got trauma and I got all this other stuff going on. And I'm wondering why I feel overwhelmed. Do I channel while I'm coaching? All the time. And that's through deep, but I teach channeling. That's deep presence and trust. But what I'm going to share is the level of clarity that's needed for yourself as a coach and facilitator gives you the tools to be able to gain clarity from your client. So when the coaches are unclear, they're transmuting unclear energy. 100%. So this level of clarity, I remember when I was like lost and I had 1,000 different things I wanted to do. I'm living in my car. And then I remember my friend came over to my house, Chris. He said, man, what is it that you want to do? I was like, man, I got these bedazzled t-shirts I want to do. And then I want to do this thing right here. And he's like, man, come over to my house. And he sat me down. And he said, oh yeah, no, I was the king of bedazzled. And he sat me down and he said, I want you to write out 10 things you're really good at. 10 things you love to do. And I was like, man, I'm really good at singing. I'm really good at expressing myself and having fun. And I'm really good at like connecting and inspiring people. And I just named a bunch of things I'm really good at, right? And then I named some things that I love to do. And I was like, I love connecting with kids. I love hiking. I love motivation. There was just a bunch of stuff that I love. And he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go find, at first he said, start with Craigslist. Go to Craigslist and go look for any way to make money inside of any of those things that you love to do and that you're good at. You put them together. And if you can find something that encompasses what you love to do, that you're good at, you are going to forever make money in it. Maybe not in the beginning, because sometimes the universe needs to test you to see if what you want is what you really want, but it'll test the thing that is, that's your biggest issue. And a lot of people's biggest issue is their patience. And patience is one of the highest forms of leadership. So sometimes it may not come when you want it because your patience is being tested. But I've been waiting for 2 years. I was like, but look at your attitude right now, though. So everything you just poured into those 2 years, you just poured right back out because of your attitude. So when I got clear, I want to work out with people. I want to motivate people. And I want to make money. He said, now look for ways that you can work out, motivate people, and make money. You want to be a personal trainer? I was like, I'll do anything that has to do with workout, making money, and motivating people. Boom. You see that? Already, I gained clarity. You know what the next job I got? Something in the health and wellness field, working people out, selling nutritional supplements, and inspiring people. That's where I made my first million. And then I took the framework of that, created another business, made another million, then created another one when it came to investments, and the same thing happened. So, what that taught me is whatever the skill set and clarity and being clear on exactly what I want to do, that's what most people are lacking. So, whenever I would work with a client, even right now, most people think they know what intention is, and I can guarantee you, I could get on a call with each one of you, and most people would not really have a clear, vibrational, resonant, embodied intention. I did 10 sessions, 10 sessions. Not one of those people were clear on their intentions in their body. And the moment we gain the clarity in the body, the breakthrough happened. So sometimes you gotta, it's like 4 days until the breakthrough, and it's like, or like a whole 2 hours until the breakthrough. You get the intention, the breakthrough is about 10 minutes away. Almost every single time. Because you help enough people get what you want. I mean, get what they want, you can have everything that you want. So what that tells me is it's all about what they want. So getting them clear on what they want gets them in vibrational resonance, because it's not the words, it's the words backed by the energy. And that's what clarity provides, because confidence is the frequency that comes from that. Okay, the next one. Number 4, authenticity and dreaming big. This is huge. When you're being a coach, facilitator, any aspect of an energy worker, what brings you more power, more grace, more resonance, higher frequency, way more results is authenticity. What does that look like? Here's what that looks like. I'm doing something what everybody else wants me to do. But deep down inside, I know it ain't me. But it definitely brings the money. But I really would rather be doing this. Authenticity is when you take that, I would really rather be doing this, and then you do that, and you build a world around that. And yes, there might be a transition period. There might be a transition period. But why go your whole life doing what you don't actually want to be doing? There is no amount of money that you can pay. I will die 50 years before I'm actually supposed to if I'm climbing the wrong tree. Aliveness. Aliveness. When I think about, there's so many things I could coach on. So many. Authentic expression, confidence, inner child. That's my ace boom coon. Because that's the one thing that's made the biggest impact in my life. That is what made the biggest impact in my life. Reparenting little Garen. Damn. I grew up in a very harsh reality. Bunch of negative people. Didn't know what healthy active lifestyle was. Didn't know what happy mindset was. Didn't know what dreaming big was. All I knew is we can't afford it. I ain't got no money. And my mom did the best that she could. And there is also the reality of what that infused inside of me. And that was a lost boy with a hole in his heart, trying to be a man with no role models of one. My father was murdered when I was 12 years old. So it's like, I got the shit end of the stick. So I thought. But when I grew through that, reparented myself, I was like, wow, the inner child. The adult is the deteriorated children. So I'm going to focus on that. When everybody else can focus on everything else, I'm going to focus on that little kid inside. And I'm going to do whatever work I need to do to continue to keep healing little Garen. And there's layers. So as I'm sharing that, let me go to my notes. The authenticity piece. When you're coaching, people shouldn't have to be like, hey, what is it that you do again? Hey, what's that? It should be so obvious that you can't help but live it. Like you know when there is a relationship coach or a parenting coach, like you can, because it comes out in their language. It's so that's an authentic nature. So you being an authentic coach, that's not just, let me just throw something in a hat. Let me just try to do something. And there's something in every one of your lives that you're like, I never really thought that because I overcame this thing or I learned this skill set over the last 10 years or 5 years or something like that, and it feels so effortless. I never thought, but I'm just really good at drawing. So then be a draw shop coach. Hello. There's a lot of people that are really good at drawing. Well, guess what? They don't have the bravery to start something. They're creatively blocked. When you were creatively blocked, they need to listen. People listen to who they relate to. And then there's a bunch of people that's wanted to draw. Right there, you have a coaching program. Okay. Now, number 5, the one offer that changed everything. This is I'm going to talk about this one offer. I was doing a bunch of random stuff. I was in multi-level marketing. That's not random, but I was like doing this other coaching thing and I was doing this other coaching thing. But I was like, man, something's missing. And then I did a deep meditation and I said, God, use me to create a message for humanity. Let me borrow your eyes so I can see what you see through me. Close my eyes. What am I meant to do in the world? And all of a sudden I heard a voice inside say, Garen, you'll be at a party. And people will say, hey, what do you do? And you're like, I'm a transformation coach. And nobody will really respond. And then all of a sudden you'll just feel called to pick up a drum or just start singing. And then next thing you know, there's 100 people dancing 5 minutes later. Garen, your frequency just gave them permission. Start with the art, then take them to transformation. And in that moment, artist power awaken the artist within came up. They were like, create the retreat. And I'm like, what? I'm questioning what I'm being guided to. I'm like, what? I got something I'm about to launch that's 98% done. Create it. And I went to my my business partner when it was just us two, and I told him. He thought I was crazy. He's like, oh, you need more time. He's a smart guy, but he's very analytical. And so he's based off of data and analytics. You need more time to do this. And we had three 3 weeks, and it was like, there's not enough time. You got to find this space and do this other stuff. I was like, I am doing this retreat. 2 weeks, it was sold out, 52 people, $125,000. I did it at my house. And it's sold out. And I was like, holy crap, what happened? Because the aliveness in how I felt about it, it didn't matter if it sold out. I wasn't trying to sell it out. I'm like, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. They're like, what is it? Me. I love playing. I love dancing. I love drumming. I love having fun. I love watching people get healed. I love watching people heal themselves and rise into the frequency of healing. I love all of those things. I love painting. I love all of it. So I just decided to put it all into one container. Meanwhile, there are people who are like, well, how do I do this? But I'm a dancer. And how do I do this thing right here? And how do I do this? I just was like, here's how you do it. Put it into a container and then make that the offer. And you know what that does? Separates you from a lot of people who are just doing the one thing. Here, come take this art class. Oh no, we doing art. We doing heart. We're doing all of that because I recognize that there was a need in the marketplace and everybody's little child was injured. So my one irresistible offer turned into a multi-million-dollar business in 6.5 months. That's how much of a need it was in the marketplace. I wasn't trying to, okay, we're going to do 7 figures. I wasn't trying to do that. I knew people need this. And I'm excited about what they need. So whether it's 1 or 1,000, I'm doing this no matter what, because it's making me feel alive. So this is irresistible offer. It's going to become from the irresistible sensations inside of you. That's what speaks into the heart of humanity. You meet a need for somebody, you'll always be wealthy. Sometimes people, they're like, let me treat this divine goddess program and da 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 da. Yo, let me tell you something. There are people that are just like, you know what? I just want somebody to say some real shit. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with the divine goddess, but if it's not selling, if it's not feeling up, that means you are not actually speaking the language of the people. So what you do is sell them what they want and then give them what they need. That you got to bring them through the doorway first, then show them the rest of the mansion. So save the divine goddess for when they walk through the doorway. So you got to have language that gets them through the doorway, not language that only speaks to 0.2% of the population. So when you want to create an offer that changes it for you, it comes from the aliveness inside of your body. And it comes from you being able to communicate it in a practical way. Just know this. Most people in the world speak a common language. That's why I can take frequency and distill it down. Energy goes where energy flows. See what I just did there? That is a combination of vibration and frequency produces energy. So I will talk about energy because people can understand energy. Well, how do you describe energy? You know, when you go over your grandmother's house and nobody is talking, nobody's talking, and then she puts some pecan pie on the table and sweet potato pie. Maybe that's my big mama. And you're like, there's something that feels good. Or when you're in a room full of people who don't like you, nobody's talking and you can feel it. High level, frequency vibration right there. There's a dissonance in the room. Low level, the energy's off. See the practicality in that? I'm saying the same thing, but I'm using a language and an analogy that people can understand. Why? Because people listen to who they relate to, and they listen to things that they relate to. That's why stories and analogies will bring them the connection in even more. Okay, number 6. Okay, here's a secret to attracting your dream client effortlessly. Oh, this is a good one. Y'all ready? This is a good one. Are you ready? Effortlessly. I don't know if y'all ready. Type 5 in the chat if you're ready. Here's the secret to attracting your dream client effortlessly. Okay, here goes. They are you. They are your characteristics. But if you don't know, if you don't see yourself, you don't see your characteristics, like how you complain, your insecurities, how you gossip, how you have limiting thinking, how you have a public persona, but deep down inside is another story. And if you don't see that, or if you present yourself as a certain way of, it's like, oh yeah, I make a lot of money, but you like feel broke on the inside, but you keep attracting broke people and you're wondering, why can I get more high paying clients? Yeah, because you broke on the inside. You're attracting yourself. So you could be turning away your best clients because what worked for you, you have not taught them. This is why I have clients that pay me $140,000 for 12 sessions. I attract dissatisfied, either ex-athletes, moms, or men who want to learn from a leader that's being led by the heart. Every single one of those is me. I'm not a mom, but I am a nurturer. And I understand how to work very well with women and teach her how to restore the nature inside of herself. That's so easy for me. So, yeah, no, we just get back on the horse, Johan. You're attracting yourself. You're attracting a variation of yourself. I feel like God brings you through tests so that you can teach other people how to do what was done unto you. That's why I know how to talk about mindset with people when they're like, oh, I don't have no money. I can't afford it. I was like, you telling the wrong person. Because I remember when I was broke and I was $200,000 in debt, you got a car and you got a house. I was sleeping in an abandoned building. I was eating syrup sandwiches and shit, and I figured it out. I no longer allowed my current circumstances to determine where my future was going to go. So I became solution-minded, not victim-minded, so that I can stay in the circumstances of my past. You see what I'm saying? So I can speak directly to that. So nobody can be like, oh, no, I can't afford it. You don't understand. No, I understand, probably more than anybody. Not more than anybody, but more than a lot of people. I do understand. I didn't accident my way here. And so I can speak on that level. I can speak to uh, men who don't know how to be devotional to their wives. I can speak on commitment. I can speak. Why? Because I used to be a cheater. So I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. I know what it moves like. I know the trickery. So when some of my girlfriends that are friends and they're like, Garen, what do you think of this guy? And he said this. I'm telling you, he's running game right now. Oh, I met this one guy who was trying to hit on me, who was trying to hit on me at the gym. But then I told him I had a man, and then he invited us both out to dinner. What should I do? I said, don't go out to that dinner. She said, why? He was so nice. I said, you got to understand the context of why he wanted to reach out to you. Because he wanted you, and the second you said a man, so now he's trying to check your man to see if he's weak. And if he's weak, he gonna still go after you. And if he's not weak, he gonna leave you alone. She was like, oh, damn. So I can speak on that. You see what I'm saying? So this is what I'm talking about. And so when it comes to attracting your dream clients effortlessly, I'm going to attract variations of my past. I'm going to attract the cheaters. I'm going to attract the people that have been to prison. I'm going to attract the people who gossip, like, oh, I don't want them. That's like they're a headache. Now you get to see how you used to be. So what you're doing, this is what you're doing. You're actually pushing away the opportunity for you to experience what headache you gave to your mom or your ex or your children. You're like actually pushing away the opportunity. But the moment you embrace it, you're like, I know exactly what I did. And why it becomes effortless? Because you know the books you read. And you can speak from a point of relatability. Type of five in this chat if this conversation is resonating to you. You see how I'm getting in? This is why I'm batting 1,000 when it comes to results. I know who I'm attracting. They're different. They're like fractals of me and my past. You don't attract people beyond your resonance, and if you do, you won't be able to keep them because you don't even have the base to hold them. This is why you don't attract beyond the resonance of money, because that's why you get money, you lose it. You get it, you lose it, because you don't have the base to hold it. It's the same thing of somebody winning the lottery, and then all of a sudden they go bankrupt. They didn't have the base to hold it. So your best clients, I know with the ones you want to call in, but they become irresistible when you realize your past needed to happen so that you can develop into the kind of person that can walk other people through their valley of the shadow of death. And the moment you find a treasure inside of that, watch how your future is going to be blessed. It's a process. It's a process. And then once you get it automated and acclimated, you're going to start attracting different levels of that person, because a millionaire doesn't mean that they don't have an ego or a problem or insecurities. It just makes you more of who you already are. So once you start with the lower paying people and you start appreciating, if you can't appreciate a nickel, you're not going to get a quarter. If you can't appreciate a quarter, you ain't getting $1. If you can't appreciate $1, you ain't getting 10. If you can't appreciate 10, you're not getting 100, 100,000, 1,000, 10,000, 10,000, 100,000, 100,000, a million. It's the same way with the variations of clients. So if you can recognize the personality piece, that is your in. Here's what a lot of coaches do. Oh, this person makes more money than me. And then they get small. That's why we're going to teach you about embodiment and confidence and holding your countenance and building the foundation and raising your frequency and awareness so that you can hold no matter who walks into the room, where they have all this money, big programs, and anything. Type a 5 in the chat if this is resonating. Okay. Now, the next one, number 7, scaling without a huge team. We made our first million with 3 people. Scaling without a huge team, but you got to have a huge vision. Those without a vision will perish. You're cosmically blind without a vision. So when we had 3 people, I was seeing us in stadiums. I saw it. When we had 3 people, and I was like, I see big stadiums with lighting and we're harmonizing and all this other stuff. I see the vision. So when the vision has your energy, it has the ability to pull more out of you and the people that's surrounding you. So being able to communicate that vision to your team and getting buy-in, the vision pulls people up. Okay, number 8. This is huge. Opportunity. The top coaches I know, they make powerful decisions to invest in an opportunity to improve their craft. There's a lot of coaches, facilitators that rely on talent, and talent will only get you so far. But when you have the talent plus the skill, and you have those two going on at the same time, that's what transcends you as a coach and a facilitator. So they take the opportunity. And this is why I'm going to talk about my coaching certification program. It is an absolute no-brainer. If you got any level of value from the free cheese portion, you know, when you go to the grocery store and all of a sudden they just hand out that free cheese and you're just like, damn, where the rest of the box at? Right now, I want to present to you an opportunity to be a part of what we're doing. And I want to share with you my vision. As I've been in this coaching industry for 15 years, I have co-facilitated at over 75 different retreats before I created my own. There was so much that was out of integrity. And I've been a part of many different masterminds and cohorts and coaching practices. And I saw so much stuff that was out of integrity. And I said, if I ever create something, I am going to have and develop the best coaches in the industry, period. But what did I do when I got on this call? I set a standard. You can't hold people to a standard they don't know exists. And there is nothing wrong with wanting the best. I want to be involved with the best coaches, facilitators, and energy workers in the industry, which is why I'm high on safety and integrity and ethics, dignity, honor, self-respect, education, skills, and talent, and community. So I decided to create a coaching certification, a one-of-a-kind coaching certification program so that you can be the leader in your industry. There's a bunch of yoga teachers and Pilates teachers and a bunch of coaches that coach on inner child and mindset and everything. However, all t-shirts don't fit the same on everybody, even if it's the same medium-sized t-shirt. I, Garen Jones, want to be involved with the top-tiered coaches in the entire industry. And I've done it before in a completely different industry. That's why I know it works. In another industry where I was coaching health and wellness, I said in the beginning, I want to have the best coaches. We want to be the best educators, the best trainers, the best speakers. And I said, I want, when I'm not around, people to speak about this coach and be like, wow, that was the best training I've ever had. And guess what happened? That. And that coaching program, what I taught them is still going. So anybody that was training under inside of my tutelage, you always know who is in a Garen Jones organization. And it's not about me, it's about the level of standards that I had. And I have, like, people aren't going to just graduate. It's not easy. You're not going to do it in 2 days and be like, hey, I got my certificate. Now I'm a trauma certified coach without ever touching a human body. No, I'm purposely going to make it hard. I'm purposely going to challenge you. I'm purposely, why? Because it's the standard of excellence. And if nobody holds coaches to excellence, they will not operate excellent. And I see enough. That's why it's so hard sometimes for people to sell out things. Because coaches give this industry a bad name. Facilitators definitely give this industry a bad name. Well, everything that y'all are going to learn is how to be in the standard of excellence. And this isn't for people who don't want to be extraordinary coaches and facilitators. If you just want to be average and basic, take this and you'll still crush it. What I shared today. But if you want to be amongst the greats, you are going to get the tools. I invested well over $500,000 in the last few years to learn from the best people in the world. So it's not just me. Everything that I learned, I'm giving away.